Welcome to Reveal Science. I am your teacher Dr. Muhammad Aris Ali, and today in the series of malaria after life cycle we are going to see pathogenesis. So in pathogenesis, hey, stop. You're coming. Can't you see I am recording? Hey man, chill. Actually I am you, but you forgot one thing. Guys, please subscribe our channel, like this video, share with others so others can also take advantage of it. Now you can continue, buddy. I'm going. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. So in the pathogenesis of malaria, or you can say from life cycle, which is our first part, you know that the plasmodium in the form of merozoite enters into the red blood cell. Now in red blood cell it forms different deformities. First, it ruptures the red blood cell and infects it with disastrous qualities. So these red blood cells come to a special structure called spleen. So you can see here, this is spleen. So all the damaged RBC come to spleen, and in this spleen we will see the pathogenesis of the malaria. And the second site where we are going to see the pathogenesis of malaria is our blood stream. So spleen work as a filter of your body, or you can say filter of the red blood cell or your blood. All the damaged or deformed red blood cells come to the spleen. Spleen capture those cells and remove out from the circulation. So you can say spleen work as a quality control center of your blood. Now you can see these are normal RBCs in spleen. These are normal RBCs, and these are deformed, or you can say plasmodium containing RBC, or you can say infected RBCs. So these infected RBCs come into the contact with this giant cell is present inside the spleen. What is this giant cell? This giant cell is named as splenic macrophage. Splenic macrophage. It is a very special type of cell. What is macrophages? Actually, macrophages is a type of WBC, or you can say white blood cells. White blood cells have different types: neutrophils, eosinophils, you can say lymphocytes and monocytes. When the monocyte comes out of the bloodstream, it is known as macrophage. It is very giant cell. And what is the function of this cell? This macrophage capture the deformed or infected RBC inside the spleen and make it, or you can say engulf it. So you can see here macrophage, and this is the infected RBC. I am writing here infected RBC. Now this macrophage engulfed the infected RBC. Here is the, you can say, larger diagram of macrophage. The infected RBC in macrophage, what it does? This RBC release some special type of chemicals known as merozoite surface antigen. What does merozoite surface antigen do? First of all, from where this merozoite surface antigen is released? From infected RBC. Infected RBC. What this merozoite surface antigen do? This merozoite surface antigen make changes in the DNA of the macrophage, and this changes in the DNA start a process known as transcription. This transcription process, in the result of this transcription process, the mRNA is made. And what mRNA do, you know that mRNA do translation. And what this whole process is known as protein synthesis. So merozoite surface antigen do changes in the DNA of macrophage, then DNA start transcription or making mRNA. mRNA comes out of the nucleus and start a process of translation and forming new proteins. What these new proteins known as? These new proteins are called inflammatory cytokines. Yes, inflammatory cytokines. These inflammatory cytokines are responsible for the major pathogenesis of malaria. Where these inflammatory cytokines are released, the first site where they released are spleen, and the second side where they release are blood stream. So in malaria, the major cytokines which are released are interleukin 1b, number 2 interferon gamma, number 3 TNF alpha, or you can say tumor necrotic factor alpha. What these cytokines do, or what complications they produce? These cytokines are the reason, or you can say main reason, to produce pathogenesis in malaria, which includes high grade fever. They also diminish erythrocyte or red blood cell production. So diminish production of RBC. They also produce some poisonous nitrogenous species which causes tissue damage. So where these cytokines are released? So they are released majorly in two areas. And from where they release? They release from monocytes in blood cell, in bloodstream, and macrophages in spleen. So in bloodstream and in spleen. And the type which are released are interleukin 1b, number 1, number 2 is interferon gamma, and number 3 is tumor necrotic factor alpha. So what these cytokines do beside doing these things? These cytokines express, or you can say it helps the expression of these receptors. You are seeing this in blue and this pretty green color. These are very special type of receptors. So what these receptors are called? This green one is known as CD36 and this blue one is known as ICAM. Actually the full form of ICAM is intercellular adhesion molecule. So these cytokines increase the expression of these endothelial receptors, which include CD36 and ICAM. So come back here and see these. You are seeing these blue and green colored knobs. What are these? In the life cycle of malaria, I told you that when merozoite enters into the bloodstream, it enters into the RBC. So here the merozoites, these merozoites enters into the bloodstream and infect the RBCs. These merozoites produce a special type of chemical which induce the production of some proteins on the surface of RBC, and these proteins are simply called knobs. KNOBS, knobs. Or you can say here, these knobs, I am describing it here. So what happens, this is plasmodium, this is RBC. This plasmodium infect this RBC and produce knobs over it. What are these knobs called? These are Plasmodium falciparum, erythrocytic membrane protein 1. So it's a long name, or in short form you can say PFEMP1, Plasmodium falciparum erythrocytic membrane protein 1, or simply in simple words you can say knobs. So what these knobs do? They restrict the blood flow of the vessel. Why? It's irregular in shape. And remember this CD36 and ICAM receptors, which are induced by these cytokines. These knobs containing RBC bind to these receptors and restrict the blood flow. Sometimes it completely blocks the vessel. And what happens? In the presence of platelets and thrombin, which is a coagulating factor, it induces the clotting of RBC, and this clotting of RBC completely restricts the blood to enter into the tissue, or you can say it decreases the tissue perfusion and induce ischemia, a severe ischemia. So what these addition molecules and you can say these knobs did, they trigger the clotting, and this clotting or this clot is known as rosette. So what this rosette causes? This rosette restricts the blood to enter into the tissue. So it increases the vascular permeability. What is this vascular permeability? Or you can say simply the blood cells before the clot, because the clot restricts the blood flow, it leaks the blood vessel and enters into the surrounding tissue. Anywhere you can say, in brain, in lungs, in kidney, in your placenta, anywhere it can leak and causes some disastrous changes. So this vascular permeability induces the leukocyte infiltration. What are leukocytes? Leukocytes are simply WBCs. So this leukocyte infiltration, due to this leukocyte infiltration, many systems of your body are infected, or you can say are damaged, in which your pulmonary system is involved, in which your renal system is involved, or in which your brain is involved. So in brain, this rosette formation and increased vascular permeability, due to which leukocytes are infiltrating, and this rosette formation causes 3 complications. Number 1, when the rosette is formed, the blood clot in the vessel of blood or vessel of brain, so it causes ischemia. After that, the leukocyte infiltration causes many type of discomfort and disabilities into the brain. And number 3, the clotting, which is induced by the binding of CD36 with the RBC containing knobs, causes cerebral malaria. cerebral malaria, which is fatal in nature. So this cerebral malaria is fatal. It causes death. Now, after brain, we see the pulmonary system. In pulmonary system, the clotting of vessels and you can say the forming of clot can cause many different type of complications, in which respiratory distress syndrome is very common. And what it do in this renal component, or you can say in the renal compartment, renal system. So this leukocyte infiltration and this triggered clotting or rosette formation causes many different complications in renal system. But before going into the renal system, I come back here and tell you one more thing about malaria, is that this plasmodium is infected RBC. So this macrophage engulf this RBC in large quantity. So there is the shortage of RBC in the blood, and this shortage of RBC is termed as, there is a very specific term for this RBC shortage in the blood, and is known as anemia. Yes, anemia. So anemia is also a very specific symptom for malaria. So this anemia also started making complication in the renal system. So anemia causes renal impairment. Beside this malaria causes metabolic acidosis, hypoxia, and hyperventilation. So these are the major impairments in kidney or renal system which is caused by malaria and anemia. So this is the whole pathogenesis of malaria, or you can say malarial parasite. Now we go into the deep detail of symptoms and diagnosis of malaria. So what are the main symptoms in malaria? The main symptom in malaria is high fever. In malaria there is very high fever, up to 104 or 106 degrees centigrade, high fever. And this high fever is not normal. It is with shaking chills. Beside this high fever and shaking chills, there are many more symptoms in malaria, in which diarrhea is present, nausea, vomiting, disturbance in GI tract, and pulmonary disturbance. But the major, or you can say the main symptom is, sometimes this is splenomegaly, or you can say the enlargement of spleen. Why the enlargement of spleen occurs in malaria? Because there is the high workload on the spleen. Due to the high infected rate of RBC, splenic macrophages and splenic cell are working at very high rate. So this causes splenomegaly, or spleen to enlarge its size, or you can write here, enlarged size of spleen. There are many more symptoms of malaria, in which flu is another symptom, and high fever, and much more. And this all high fever and shaking chills are due to the, you can say, this cytokines, because they include or induce a fever into the human body. Now if we go into the deep detail of diagnostic tools for malaria. What are the main diagnostic tools for malaria? According to CDC, Center of Disease Control, the golden standard or gold standard for malaria diagnosis is peripheral blood smear, which is done under the microscope. But nowadays another alternative process is known, which is known as rapid diagnostic tool, RDT. And this rapid diagnostic tool includes dipsticks, which rapidly diagnose, and this whole process of rapid diagnostic testing is known as immunochromatography. Immunochromatography. It includes dipstick, and what this dipstick do, it detect the malarial antigen and it gives the result of test in 2 to 15 minutes. So guys, this is the whole pathogenesis of malaria. In our first part, we elaborate the life cycle in very detail, and now in second part we studied the pathogenesis. If you like this video, please hit the like button, comment down in the comment section and share this video with others. Until next time.